I give our marketing team such credit for getting that algorithm and maximizing that and bringing such great engaging content to our membership base, because it really helps us in merchandising understand like what's interesting, what's hot, what's not, and it helps us to pivot quickly.
You're listening to Retail Remix, your inside access to candid conversations with the people shaping retail's future. Here's your host, Alicia Esposito.
I always love covering the beauty space because I truly feel like this category in particular is ripe for innovation. And not only innovation, it really enables consumers to express themselves freely and without inhibitions. Depending on how you feel, you may try a different lip look. Or maybe if you're feeling extra creative, you'll go all out on your eyes. But sometimes, I know I myself fall into a bit of a routine with our makeup looks. That's where companies like IPSY come in, because they're equal parts utility, creating ease and convenience for consumers, but also inspiration, always offering up incredible content, curation, and community connections that really inspire us and allow us to let our inner beauty freak fly. I wanted to dig into how this all works, because on one hand, there's the operations of it all, but then there's also the art, the curation, the creative side of things. So I sat down with Christy Westrup, who's Chief Merchandising Officer at IPSY. And she's been in merchandising for many years, but she's still relatively new to IPSY. So I wanted to hear her insights on what makes the brand unique, how they're standing out in the beauty space, and also how they're investing in media, in social, in creators, and in curation to create this amazing convergence of content, community, and commerce. And this conversation is actually the perfect setup for a session that is going to be taking place at the Retail Innovation Conference and Expo, taking place June 4th through 6th in Chicago. We're going to be hearing from Sam Gould, who's Senior Director of Growth of Member Engagement at IPSY. So you'll hear in this conversation today, we're going to get a little insight into IPSY's philosophy on membership and program strategy. And Sam's going to be digging deeper into that. So in the show notes, there's some more details on that, and of course, the event coming up in June. But for now, please enjoy the incredible insights of Christy Westrup. Christy, thanks so much for being on the show. I am so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before we started recording here, we have a lot of marketing folks, a lot of CX folks, but over the past few months, I've seen a lot more merch folks coming on this show, which is super exciting for me because I get to hear basically about a different side of the retail organization and how different teams are collaborating. So let's start out by going into all about IPSY, right? Because what I find really interesting about the company is that it's been able to carve out a really unique place in the beauty space. So I'm curious, as a chief merchant, what do you think the company does that no other beauty brand or retailer can do, at least successfully, right? Like, what is your bread and butter, I guess you could say, as a brand?
I love this question. It's super interesting. What people don't know about IPSY is that we're actually uniquely positioned between the brands and the brand community and the consumer. We are both a B2B and a B2C. What does that mean? We offer brands the opportunity to get their product in the hands of millions of consumers in 1 month. I came from traditional retail. I came from actually my background. I started at Macy's department stores. I would have paid millions of dollars to get that reach and impact in 1 month, but we're also delivering the best of beauty to our members. sometimes giving them this opportunity to discover and try something new without the commitment of buying at full retail. But all of that is to say, our goal is that they go back and convert or purchase on either the brand site or Sephora and Ulta a lot of times. And all of that, right? All of that amazingness comes with a strong community where they're learning, they're interacting, they're growing with us. What I always say, and my team laughs, is like, we're not just a transaction, we are a multifaceted membership for our members.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we obviously cover the whole spectrum of retail, all categories, all sizes. And there's been this real shift towards like community-based models and how do we build a community? Like, what do we do beyond provide great products, right? And it's been interesting to see the different approaches to membership. And in some cases, people call it subscription models, right? I'm curious, how has IPSY built out and kind of fine-tuned its membership model to make it a destination that's equally convenient as well as inspirational? Because when I hear subscriptions, I know like some people automatically think like, oh, recurring purchases, get a little bit of a discount. It's very, very much based on ease, right? But you bring up community. So like, how do you kind of strike that balance as a brand?
First up, I love this question because you'll never hear me call IPSY a subscription business. It is a membership. We're literally everywhere they are. And physically, yeah, sure, we deliver directly to their doorstep on a monthly basis. So there's the convenience. But once you do sign up as a member, we're collecting all this important data that's helping us determine how we're curating that monthly box. We're using your quiz. We have proprietary AI and machine learning tools. We actually, and many people don't know this, we have over 3 million monthly member ratings and reviews, like more than Yelp in 1 month. This helps us ensure we're delivering delight to them throughout their journey. We're also extremely connected to our members across social platforms. We are, I love bragging, we're #1 beauty brand on TikTok. Like, it's incredible. Our team is absolutely amazing. And there's this idea to ensure that they feel part of a community where they're discovering, they're learning, and they're showing off a bit about what they know about beauty. Our mission at IPSY is to empower our members to express their unique beauty, which a lot of companies talk about, but I really feel it's at the core of what we do. And which ties back to what I said before. We're really leaning into this more experiential approach, taking it from a less traditional transactional nature of the subscription industry and making it more about the emotional aspect of the beauty industry and really driving home this membership and this being part of a community. It's a huge piece of our culture at IPSY.
I love that. I think that's such a nuanced way to think about it, right? Because when we talk about community and even things like TikTok, right? I feel like we being the industry, it's like we're so quick to think about the outcomes, right? Well, what are the clicks? What are the conversion rates? What are the results? But the fact that you're really leading into that mission of, allowing and empowering people to express themselves through beauty, and like that's kind of the North Star, right? Is really a big opportunity, I think, not just from marketing and creative standpoint, but in your world from a merchandising side of things. So I'm curious, taking all of this into account, the fact that you're leaning into this community model and community mission, how does that inform and inspire your work as chief merchandising officer? How do you kind of strike that balance of inspiration and ease/convenience that comes with that? We'll deliver it right to your doorstep, same time, every month?
Well, I would say balancing that inspiration and ease is definitely the holy grail for all merchants and all retailers, period. Our members do expect us to deliver the categories, the products, and the brands that they need and love. We're also, we're introducing them to like, what's their next beauty ride or die? Our merchants are super hyper focused on that balance. And then we do really lean into machine learning to help us. We're also hyper focused on how that total brand experience delivers on this promise from the minute they connect with our brand, whether it's an email or social, to when they land on our site and ultimately receiving that monthly shipment. How are we making sure that their experience is inspiring, cohesive, and connected to where they are in their beauty journey? It's a daily learning. learning for us at IPSY.
So interesting. And it kind of leads me into this rabbit hole of sorts, because what I find most interesting about beauty is, and I guess this applies to all categories, but more so in beauty, is like this whole trend aspect. So you mentioned TikTok, right? Anything can go viral. It can be a specific product, it can be a brand, it can even be just like a trend or aesthetic or vibe, right? And it trickles down into everything that a consumer does. And I feel like beauty, especially, there's so much opportunity there. And I feel like over the past 3 to 4 years or so, obviously, I hate mentioning COVID at this point, but it's true, right? Because we saw like that huge uptick in skincare, and it was all about skincare. And now we're seeing the resurgence of more dramatic looks and more self-expression through beauty. And like, sure, like that's noticeable in fashion too, but I feel like especially beauty because it feels a bit more intimate. And again, this could just be my opinion, but I'm curious, like what you've learned about the IPSY consumer and basically what's trending in their lives right now. Like what's really top of mind? Again, kind of leaning into this TikTok world that we're living in, and anything can be trending at a moment's notice.
You're spot on. I think what this TikTok craze is really incredible. And it's been such a benefit for not only the consumers, but the brands and all of us to really understand and hear them immediately. I mean, the trends, like to your point, like things are going viral on a daily basis. It's incredible. But I would say like right now, our members are definitely telling us a couple things. So they're telling us they're more open to discovery than ever before. I mean, people are trying things that they would have never tried before. And I really do think that's because of TikTok and social. They're willing to try dupes and try brands, whether it's masstige to prestige. It reminds me, it's very similar to what happened in the apparel industry years and years ago. But on the opposite side, what we're hearing from our members, and we do a lot of social listening, is they're definitely concerned with ingredients, but ingredients and efficacy. Efficacy is really important, targeted to skin and formulations and clinical ingredients, which are like responding to skincare concerns. We're talking a lot about sensitivities of skin. So while, yes, and I hate talking about COVID, everyone was talking about skincare, but really it's about targeted skincare and your skincare concerns. That has been super interesting right now. And it's not just clean, right? I'm doing quotation marks. It's not just clean. That's almost a given at this point. They want to know how this is going to work for them. And then there's also wellness. I think wellness and beauty, I feel at least at IPSY, we haven't even scratched the surface. It's a huge opportunity for us. And then lastly, this craze, I'm also really, really interested in this like tween teen consumer that we're hearing. I have one at home, so I live with it and I breathe it on a daily basis. And I find that generation to be very fascinating. And my advice to anybody right now in a brand or a retailer or marketer really should be listening to those tween and teen consumers because they're changing the landscape of the beauty in any consumable product. So that's what I would say right now is what I'm learning about what is happening in our members' lives.
Tweens are so interesting. I did a report recently just on Gen Alpha in general and kind of what our sources have learned and the level of sophistication they have, not just from a product perspective, right? Like Drunken Elephant and that whole thing. That's a whole discussion, but even like how they're balancing and thinking about technology in context of their lives and data pointing to like, sure, they use technology every day, but like they know how to separate from it and be thoughtful with it. But I always think of the like memes that were going around, especially when the Stanley craze came about and Drunken Elephant, and like people were showing like what they were like as tweens versus what tweens are like now. And it's like, it's so true. And like, I'm curious, like in your world, like, is this because of influencers and content creators and the fact that like with TikTok, anyone can be a content creator? Like, I guess I'm trying to understand like the external forces at play here that are driving all of these trends that you just so eloquently pointed out.
Well, for us, creators were always part of our DNA. We were co-founded by one of the OG beauty creators, Michelle. It was instrumental in our early success, but as you pointed out, the world looks drastically different today. It's not just the creators, it's the platforms. And it's that intersection of the two. On our side, our most luxe product, Icon Box. So this is a quarterly box for our, I would say, our biggest beauty, our highest beauty. I would call them our beauty junkies. It's designed to capture the excitement and engagement that goes hand in hand with those big influencers in the beauty industry. It's curated by a tastemaker or a makeup artist or somebody who's culturally relevant. So we're really working directly with these celebrities and these creators. And you know what they're telling us, which I find so fascinating? Like we just were, I won't say who it was, but we just worked with one of the biggest mega superstar singer, actor, like icon. She actually was on Coachella. She was just performing in Coachella. She actually said to us while we were filming, this business is really hard. So it doesn't really matter how big you are. This industry is massive and hyper competitive. But that's good for us at IPSY because we are this huge, largest beauty discovery engine. We are so uniquely positioned in between everything that's happening. And just tie out that question with your, as we started to talk about TikTok. I mean, I think I give our marketing team such credit for getting that algorithm and maximizing that and bringing such great, engaging content to our membership base because it really helps us in merchandising understand like what's interesting, what's hot, what's not, and it helps us to pivot quickly. So it's just such an incredible journey that we're on.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up marketing because it's interesting to see how, honestly, all organizational functions should collaborate in order to understand and respond to consumer needs and expectations. But I feel like the opportunity for marketing and merchandising in particular is really significant. And, it's always interesting to hear, how those two forces come together, so to speak, to apply that voice of the customer. So I'm curious, how does IPSY track, listen, and gather data across channels to understand how consumers are discovering beauty trends and researching brands, discovering brands? Like we've talked so much about TikTok for obvious reasons, but are there any other methods or channels that you guys try to tap into to ensure that you're keeping that pulse?
Yeah, for sure. We're known, right? We're known for sampling and product trial at scale, but we are so much more. We're a massive and hyper skilled content operation and a social strategist, right? So like this year, to give you an example, we started our social team. We work lockstep merch and marketing in our brand team. But this year, we started this weekly writer's room to be lockstep with trends and culture in social media and the beauty space. So it's not just about the beauty space, like what's happening out there culturally. And it starts with our social team dedicating every day to finding both large and niche trends happening, then gathering to look at how we execute them in a way that is on brand for IPSY, and also really quickly so that we can stay in that current conversation. Things are moving so quickly. Sure, we're constantly gathering the performance data on our posts, but social listening is more of a brand buzz moment for us, and it helps us engage with our audience. But long term, we're constantly gathering data to analyze monthly to see what type of content is resonating with our audience and using that data to make pivots. In Q1 alone, so this is super interesting, we made several content pivots based on the data we saw. We saw a 200% view increase on YouTube.
Wow.
And a 50% increase in traffic across all of our sites. And I think YouTube has always been extremely important for the beauty industry. I think that's where it all began, but it's a platform that people should not discount. It's something that we are talking about a lot outside of TikTok. YouTube is still extremely important. And this younger generation is still using YouTube in a huge way. So we're really just using all these tools in our toolbox to stay hyper engaged within that landscape. Social media is just it's just so unique. And you have to balance the data with it's like the quantitative and the qualitative when it comes to social media. So listening and also combining that data. And then this, to your point, this combination of our merchandising team and our brand team, it makes a strong, powerful team within this industry. And I think for me, being in this industry for so long, it really is the special sauce that IPSY brings to the table.
I love that. And I love that your creative team is so robust. And it's almost like a media platform, right?
Yes.
And that's something that we're keeping a close watch on because we've noticed a few brands really leaning into that approach because they know without great content, that funnel or that flow through of consumer insight and attraction and engagement, like you need something to drive people to those owned platforms and owned experiences. But in the merchandise mix and, planning aspect of all of this, I'm curious, how do you ensure that you're bringing in the right mix, right? Because we have consumer behaviors, we have expectations, we have what's trending, we have that qualitative and quantitative insight here. Like, how do you optimize that brand mix? Not only having like the right product set, but also like the right type of brand between like established and tried and true, but also like the new and emerging, right? Like, how do you go about juggling all of that?
Oh, for sure. And this is the good stuff, right? So our team, so the merch and brand partnership teams, their portfolio is more extensive than anything I've ever worked with in my past life. They truly are the experts with this deep knowledge within our industry. What most people don't know, they test over 8,000 products a year. 8,000 products. And can you imagine? I know we're not talking about COVID, but can you imagine in COVID, all of those products were going to their home and they were testing these products. And it's not only the 8,000 products, they're testing them from over 1,000 different brands that are actively seeking to work with us. And what's super interesting is like not one product goes into our program without having been tested by our team and surveyed by our members. So what does that mean? So we have this like super cool program we have where we send out monthly surveys to our highest valued members. Each and every product is rated by our members prior to purchasing. So if our members come back and my team says like, I think this product is absolutely fantastic, but we rate it and our consumers are like, yeah, we're not really that interested, we don't buy it. So it's almost actually like crowdsourcing, if you will. So it's this balance of like our merch expertise with crowdsourcing. And again, like we're actively listening and engaging with our members. We see and hear their shifts in real time. A good example of that is hair care. Like we were doing nothing in hair care last year for our members within our subscriptions. And our members are loving all things hair. So we completely pivoted and started making sure that we were introducing scalp treatments, hair treatments, like all this really interesting new innovation that's coming within that industry. And this wasn't the case last year. So to answer your question, it's that mix of the data, the research, what's trending, and then taking a risk. We do take risks and some work and some don't, but there's been some really great examples this year of where we've taken that risk.
Oh, that's great. And then what happens once a product lands on the customer's doorsteps, right? And it is in market for a bit and either the product doesn't land or maybe, certain brands don't resonate as much. Like, what does that work stream look like from consumer fulfilling or trying the product to your team determining, okay, do we continue to sell this product? Do we rethink the category? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balance. It's definitely a tightrope, right? We will test new products and so it's interesting. We'll get the immediate feedback within our surveys. And then because we are speaking about our different brands and products within a certain month, we'll get the reaction from them right on social. And then once they finally get their products into their hands on a monthly basis from their unboxing, we'll get immediate reaction, whether it's through NPS or ratings. And many times what we'll try to unpack is, did they not like the brand? Did they not like the product? Did they not understand the product? And I think what we try to do is balance giving them more education. So I'll give you an example of a product that we kept trying and it finally hit was cream blushes. A couple of years ago, cream blushes were they were super hot a couple of years ago. And we were a little too fast on the cream blush trend. And we went after it and we put it in the boxes, but we didn't really educate our members on how to use it. And instead of like throwing that category out because we all knew that this was going to be the future of blush, is we started doing more education. We started doing more education in emails. We started doing more education on our social platforms, on YouTube. And then finally, after a certain period of time, this is one of our top trending categories anytime we put it in a box. So I think there's some things where you tried and it's a fail, and some things just need more education.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely a fair point. And I guess this kind of ties to my next question for you, like around membership models or this more curation led, like inspiration concept that we're seeing so many brands try to apply. It's like you have the data, you use the data to make sure you're giving people what they want. I'm saying this as an abstract concept, not you guys specifically,
Yep,
but
yep.
you also need to add in something new, fresh, maybe off of the beaten path, so to speak, from what that customer typically does in order to keep things, interesting and keep them excited, right? And again, I feel like this is like a big discussion of like balancing, right? So, like, how do you ensure that you are maintaining that promise of we're personalizing this experience for you guys? We know what you want. We're using this data, but also like our job is to curate for you and bring in something new and fresh to drive that discovery and hopefully help them find the next brand or product that they really love.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a balancing act. Personalization is definitely something we take very seriously at IPSY. We call it the art and science, right? It's like this balancing act between curation and personalization. I think for us, it's just being confident in the risks that you're taking and educating our members and ensuring that they understand what our point of view was up front. Like, I think a lot of subscription companies put a couple of things in a box and they expect that their members are going to understand like what was the overarching reason for these products and these brands and why. And one of the biggest things that we're really focused on at IPSY right now is making sure that when they get these products in their hands, that they understand the reason, the why. And it's less about like 5 products in a box and it's more about the why and the how we can use these things. We're always going to take risks. I think that's one of the most incredible things for us at IPSY is, even if something doesn't resonate, we're going to continue to try. But we're also, like I said it, I've said it a couple of times, is we speak to our members on so many different platforms and in so many different ways that we have an understanding of a kind of global ideas of what they're interested in. And so it's easier for us to react and go after different things. Look, some things are a win and some things are a miss because we have these 3 different subscriptions. So, we have this monthly subscription, which is samples that go out every single month. We have a monthly Boxy Charm, which goes out once a month. But we also have, which I was speaking about earlier, Icon Box, which is this quarterly, like uber beauty obsessed consumer. That's where we also take risks. There are categories in there from sexual wellness to really edgy makeup ideas to like really cool, innovative hair products. And that's really where we kind of influence our members to take risks and try different products. And that's the one I was telling you about in the last question, where we have a celebrity or a tastemaker, a makeup artist that curates these products with us. So not only is it IPSY curating these products, but these culturally relevant experts within the industry are also standing behind some of the products that we're putting in our bags or our boxes.
Yeah, which I'm sure people love, right? Because they always want to feel closer to whether it's a artist or a creator, right? Like that kind of brings the relationship not just with whoever is the star of that curation, but also it brings them closer to IPSY ultimately, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's great. So, Chrissy, you've been with IPSY for a little more than a year now at this point. Is that right?
I've been in this role.
Well, in this role, yes.
Yeah. I was actually with Boxy originally.
Okay.
And Boxy was acquired by IPSY. So now I've been with IPSY for about 3 years.
Got it. So I'm curious, in your current role specifically, what have been like your biggest priorities and what did you know kind of coming into this job? Like would be top of mind for you? Like, again, knowing your history in retail, but also your understanding of the brand and the opportunity that you thought existed for the brand. And like, how do you see that kind of evolving over the next year or so?
Absolutely. So this is the first time IPSY's had a chief merchant, believe it or not.
Oh,
And
okay.
I know it's incredible, but it does show the commitment to product curation and ensuring that we have a strong point of view within the beauty industry. But to answer your question, my biggest priority right now is ensuring our members feel inspired, they feel affiliated and affirmed when they're part of our community. Is what we planned on paper, right? Like we're planning behind the scenes on paper. Is it what they feel when they interact with us? I'm spending a ton of my time right now on total brand management and making sure that that expert merchant point of view is coming through to ultimately delight our members across all touch points. And this is where that connection between marketing and merchandising comes in, from where and when they hear from us on the site all the way through to their unboxing. Like my goal is really we want our members to be excited about what they're getting from us, be educated, understand their value, and feel empowered to use it. And then eventually, right, I go back to my B2B repurchase. And then my internal goal for my org is really to bring our sourcing team, our merchandising, we have a planning team, and personalization under one unified strategy. When the team's running towards the same goal, I was an athlete back in the day. So I always use like athletic references. Like if we're running towards the same goal, we're all going to win.
I love that. And then a little more of a fun question, I guess, to close us up. What beauty trend are you most excited about? Like, what are you seeing trending? What are you scrolling through TikTok that really has you excited and like you want to bring into the fold? And conversely, what are you hoping consumers will retire?
I love this question. First off, I don't even know. I just spent so much on Sephora. I don't know why I felt the need that I needed to try all these different products after testing thousands at IPSY. But to answer that, I think my answer is a little bit biased because I am Gen X, but I'm loving the 90s mob wife aesthetic.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm
Yes.
obsessed. It makes me feel nostalgic. And at the same time, it is my favorite look. I've never really retired that bold brown lip liner with the frosty MAC lip glass. I think the color is still the same color I wore back in the 90s, like freshwater pink or something like that. But I'm also super obsessed with, and I know it's been around for a while, but I'm really obsessed with anything that makes my skin look dewy. I'm absolutely love the dewy skin look. If it gives my face shine, it's mine. I'm not really a fan of matte lips. I think I would love if we would retire matte lips. No shade to anyone who likes a matte lip, but not for me. And then the other trend that I really hope that I see popping up right now that I hope goes away is the skinny eyebrows. Like, please.
We've seen too much damage. Yeah, we can't go back.
We don't need the skinny eyebrow look to come back. So I'm really hoping that one, I don't even think it needs to retire. I just hope it doesn't catch on.
Yeah, I feel it. Well, you don't want anyone else to suffer. That's kind of my mindset. This has been so fun, Christy. It's always interesting to see and hear how our professional lives guide our personal lives. And I personally would take advantage of the fact that it's research, right? Any trip to Sephora is just market research.
Exactly. That's what I tell myself.
But this has been so great getting to learn more about you. And of course, all the incredible work that IPSY is doing. I think this convergence of content, community, and commerce, anyone who listens to this show knows that I bring it up quite a bit, but it seems like IPSY is really not just living by that mission, but also delivering upon it and using it as a North Star moving forward. So thank you again so much for taking the time out to chat with me.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. I appreciate it.
And to all of you listening, hope you enjoyed this conversation and enjoyed learning a little bit more about the awesome work that IPSY is doing. If you have any follow-up questions for Christy, drop us a line on LinkedIn at Retail Touchpoints. We'll make sure she's tagged. And we're also on Twitter or X too at our Touchpoints. And if you do have feedback on this episode or the show as a whole, leave us a rating or review. We always try to check in, see how we're doing. So go to your preferred podcast player. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, frankly, anywhere else, we're probably there as well. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on your favorite podcast player. Until next time, keep mixing it up.